How do you make bread at home? Let me show you how I do it. All right, this is JB here with Going Wild in the kitchen, preparing to make bread. Okay, there's different kinds of bread you can make. I've done a lot of research on bread in recent few months, and the bread we buy here at the grocery store isn't very good for you apparently. If you read more about it and do your research, it'll make you not want to eat it. And so I decided to start making my own bread a while back. I wanted to give you some tips. There's a lot of information on various sources, and a lot of them are kind of confusing. So I'm trying to straighten that, or trying to make that simple. Simplify. Okay, a couple of different methods. You can do sourdough, where you make your own activator, your own yeast, so to speak. Or you can just get like activated dry yeast at the grocery store, which is fairly cheap. It's only $1 or something for a couple of packs, or you can pay $6 for a jar. But for 3 packs, it's only like $1.25 or so. And glass bowls. I've heard metal bowls can be used, but it's more difficult. I think wooden bowls would also be pretty good to use, but I've got glass here, so that's what I'm going to use. That's what I usually use here at the house. And you can make this in the oven inside the kitchen, or you can make this outside in the Dutch oven. Doesn't matter, as long as you can maintain a temperature of about 400 or so degrees, 350 to 430. In the house here, I cook it at 430 degrees. But you can also do that in a Dutch oven, like I said. Okay, I'm making a couple of kinds of bread today. I'm making whole wheat, and I'm making sourdough. For my whole wheat, the water I'm using is distilled water. Don't want to use the water from the tap because of the bleach and the fluoride put into the water. If you make your own sourdough, I'll show you how to do that in a minute. The yeast from the air, the bleach could cause that not to be as powerful, as potent, I guess is the word. Okay, so I'm getting started with I've got some warm water here, distilled water. Warmed it in the kettle here. Getting about a cup or so. And you can read the directions on the back of the dry yeast. I'm getting that started first. Get my spectacles here, reading glasses. And it says 1 packet is 2¼ tablespoons. And I want to put that in about, you don't want too hot of water. You want it less than 100 degrees so it doesn't kill the yeast. Yeast is a living organism. Let me get another one out of here. It's got better directions on the back. How to use for each packet. Dissolve 1/4 cup warm liquid with 1 teaspoon of activated dry yeast. So quarter, so about a ½ cup would be, I've got 2 teaspoons here. So we'll use a ½ cup. Okay. It doesn't have to be too accurate. We'll kind of pour a little bit into here. Shake it up here. Open it up. Pour it in. And I like a wooden chopstick to kind of stir it up here. Got another one here, just to make sure. And I'm just going to kind of give it a stir. And this is for the whole wheat. The sourdough is a little different process. I'm going to take it and stir it up. Then we'll let it sit, cover it up, let it sit for about 10-15 minutes or so while I'll talk about the sourdough. Then I'm going to add a little bit of sugar. A tablespoon of sugar, or not a tablespoon, a teaspoon of sugar helps activate the yeast. Get my measuring tools out here. About a teaspoon. Give that another quick stir. And that yeast really helps activate that with that sugar. The sugar helps activate that yeast. Yes, I had it backwards. Okay, time to break some myths. Let's talk about the, I'm going to put that on the stove here. It's not turned on yet, so it's not too hot. We'll cover that with a towel, cloth towel. Uncover this. You can see how it's kind of foamed up here. It's kind of floating on top. So that yeast is activated. I'm going to switch flours. Got my whole wheat flour here. Pillsbury whole wheat flour. I like whole wheat bread. Get my lid for this. There's my scoop. Stick it on top in there. Put that to the side. Get my whole wheat right out of the bag here. And I'm going to add 3 cups. Right on top of the starter that I've got going, my yeast here. And I don't pack it in there. Get my sifter here. 1. Need 3 hands for this sometimes. 2. I'll sift this down a little bit. And I'll get a 3rd one going in there. You don't have to sift it, I don't think. I think it still come out pretty good. But you can see this whole wheat, you can see it's chunkier. Like I said, bread is very primitive. I've studied primitive living from all different aspects. Addles, self-made bows, self-bowls they call it. African Bushman bows is what I prefer. It's a little easier to make. You can see I've got some chunkies down in there. And I would usually put them right back in the bag. I think it's still flour. Just, you can throw it away if you want. Roll it up. Going to add a tablespoon, or a teaspoon rather, teaspoon, small one, of kosher salt. Let me see if I can film this here. Doesn't have to be kosher. It'll be table salt. This coarse kosher salt. Just kind of sprinkle it on top. And it's already got a scoop of sugar, but I'm going to add just a little more sugar. Helps it activate. Probably don't have to add that second one. Doesn't really affect the flavor. I've made it with it and without it. Doesn't taste any different. I think it just, give me a wooden spoon here. I'll stir this a little bit. Just like before with the sourdough. Add a little water. This is my lukewarm distilled water. And once I run out of this, I'll just use it straight from the room temperature jug. Might have more. Oh, there. You can see this. It's a little meatier flour. You can definitely tell it's thicker. Just kind of scrape the sides of the bowl. Get it all in there. And the stirring infuses air into it. Yeast likes air. Just kind of keep the spoon off in there. You can see it's kind of like a thick pancake batter. You don't want to make it too thin. I've made it too thin once, and it was a pain to knead on the board here, which you'll see coming up, because it just kind of poured and it ran. The bread still turned out okay. But put this in the sink, and I'm going to cover it again. Just let it sit. Let that activate, and I'll get back right back with you as soon as I'm ready to knead it. All right, you can see how this has risen. It's been a couple of hours, hour and a half or so. See the bubbles in there where it's activated. It's almost a full bowl. I'm taking, let me scroll down here. Got a wooden board here. You can use a countertop, but I like the wooden board. Got my oven preheating to 430 degrees. This is whole wheat flour. I'm just kind of putting it over the board here so it doesn't stick. It will stick like glue. And kind of a pain. And some whole wheat flour down on here. You could probably use regular flour at this portion, but I don't know. I use whole wheat. My wooden spoon here. And I'm going to dump it right on top of there. You can see it's got a lot of air in there. And dump it right on top. And the sourdough is the same as this bread at this point. The only difference in the sourdough is it's made, the activator is made naturally from the air. Get everything I can out of here. On top. I'm going to take and put a little flour on top on my hands. Got my rings off. Make sure you don't have any rings. My wedding band. I'm just kind of put some on my hands there. This up a little bit. There we go. You can see I've just kind of got it. I'll fill this with flour just in case I need it. At this point, it's just a matter of getting the air out, kind of roll it around. I guess some people think it's a pain, but I don't mind the kneading of the bread. Kind of roll it around here. I'll just push the air out. Palm of my hand. Fold it. Push it around. Move the flour around a little bit. Push the air out. And I think the kneading here just makes it a better texture. You don't have to do it as much. But like I said, I don't mind. You can see this definitely isn't anywhere near the amount of the sourdough I'm making. Well, I guess it's about 75%. 3 cups of flour instead of 4, and I think the whole wheat flour is a little coarser, so it's not as much in the cup as the bread flour. Pushing it out. Like I said, you don't want it too runny, or it would still be, you just have to add more flour if it ends up too runny at this stage. And I'm just doing this while it's preheating. Then I'm going to bake it for 30 minutes with the lid on. I'll cook it in a cast iron pot, but you could use any kind of covered pot. I use my cast iron. If it starts feeling sticky on my hand, I just put a little more flour on my hand and just kind of upside down. Should have brought my pot out before. Maybe I'll go get it here in a second. Oven's still not hot. But I'll bake it with the lid on for 30 minutes. Then I'll take the lid off and bake it another 20 minutes. Then I'll let it sit over here on the counter for a couple of hours, a good couple of hours. And it's still cooking inside at that point, so don't cut it too quick once you take it out of the oven. Flour on there, start feeling a little sticky. You can see it's not sticking to my hand. So. All sticky, so put a little more flour. Okay, I think I've got it kneaded pretty good. Oven just timed, it's at temperature, so I'm going to go get my pot. Take the lid off. And I'm going to kind of make it into a ball. Just pull up all the ends, kind of press them together a little bit. You can see it creates like a little ball. I'm going to stick that in the pot here. And I like to, if it's sticky on the bottom, I like to cover it so it doesn't stick to the pan so much. See right there. I'll take that little ball and I'll stick it right in the pot. And I like a nice little round. And the sourdough will probably be about that big. There we go. See, it's nice and round, sitting about the center of the pot there. And I'm going to take a little olive oil. Use any kind of oil or butter. Get a brush. This makes the top a little browner from what I hear. Always use, I'll take a little, might help. Just kind of brush it around on top. And then you're going to cut some slits in the top. A couple of different ways you can do that. Take a sharp knife. And some people go diagonal, but I always do like a cross. I think that's a traditional way here. Not too deep. Just north, south, east, and west. Some people call it a blessing on the bread. It actually gives it direction to rise, is what it does for it. You can see not too deep. Just like that. I'm going to put the lid on. And move it over here. You can see the oven here. Open the oven. I'm going to put it on the middle rack. Here. I'll take a pan. I like to take a pan and put it on the bottom shelf. I think that keeps the bottom from getting too hard. I'm going to set it right inside there. Set the timer for 30 minutes. 10, 20, 30, on. We'll take it back here in a little bit. Okay, you can hear the beep there. I'm going to turn off the timer. Get my pot holders here. They're under the counter. Yep. Take the bread out of the oven. Take the lid off. Let me put that over here. I'm going to take this so you can see inside the skillet there a little bit better. See there how it looks. Now we're going to bake it for 20 more minutes without the lid on. So I'm going to take, don't want to leave it out for too long. Put it in, back on the middle shelf, middle rack. Set my timer for 10, 20. I'll see you in 20 minutes. All right. Got the oven. Turn that beeping off. Got the oven. Pull it out. Taking it out of the oven here. Off. I'm going to take it and put it on a wire rack here. Just to let it cool off. There we go. You can see it here. Nice and sweet. And that is the whole wheat. Doesn't get as much rise. I only put a little less flour in there. You can see the cuts for the next sourdough. Okay, we got the whole wheat here. Come through and get a close up of this. Cut it in half. See right there. Nice, looks good. This is JB saying get outside and go wild.